Most people investing right now are making a mistake they don't even know they're making. And it's not about what they're buying, it's about what they're doing or not doing every single month. And by the time they figure it out, years of compounding are already gone. I'm going to show you something today that most finance channels completely skip over. They'll tell you to invest early, stay the course, pick a good index fund. Great advice. But nobody's talking about the one monthly habit that either keeps your compounding engine running at full speed or quietly kills it from the inside. We're talking about real numbers here, real data. And by the end of this video, you're going to look at your portfolio completely differently. So stay with me because the third section is where most people have no idea they're bleeding money right now. Part 1. The problem. Compounding has a hidden enemy. Let's start with something that took me a while to fully understand. Everyone loves to talk about compounding, like it's this magical, unstoppable force. And it is powerful. Albert Einstein allegedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. The idea is simple. Your returns generate more returns, which generate even more returns, and over time the numbers get insane. But here's what nobody tells you. Compounding has a hidden enemy, and it lives inside your own portfolio. Let me show you with real math. Say you put $10,000 into a broad market index fund. Over the first year, you earn 10%, so now you have $11,000. Second year, another 10%, you're at $12,100. This is compounding doing its thing perfectly. Now in year 3, the market drops 30%. You don't go down to $8,470, which is what most people assume. You drop to $8,470, losing everything you made in years 1 and 2, plus a chunk of your original money. Fine, that's painful but manageable, right? Here's where it gets really important. To get back to where you were, back to $12,100, you don't need a 30% gain. You need a 43% gain just to break even. That gap between the loss and the gain needed to recover is called the asymmetry of losses. And it is the single most underappreciated concept in personal finance. But here's the thing. Market volatility isn't even the biggest threat to your compounding. The biggest threat is what you do in response to it. According to Dalbar's 2025 Quantitative Analysis of Investor Behavior report, the most comprehensive long-running study on how real people actually invest, the average equity investor earned just 16.54% in 2024. Sounds decent. Until you realize the S&P 500 returned 25.02% that same year. That's a gap of 848 basis points. Nearly 8.5 percentage points of returns just left on the table. And here's the part that should make you stop and think. That 848-point gap was the second largest investor underperformance gap of the entire decade. It also extended what Dalbar calls the losing streak. Average investors have now underperformed the S&P 500 for 15 consecutive years. 15 years in a row. The last time average investors beat the index was 2009. The same report found that withdrawals from equity funds happened in every single quarter of 2024, with the largest outflows happening just before a major rally. Investors panicked, pulled money out and missed the very returns they were waiting for. This isn't bad luck. This is behavior. And behavior is something you can fix, but only if you know what to look for. And that brings us to the hidden enemy I mentioned. The thing quietly killing your compounding every month. It's called portfolio drift, and almost nobody is correcting it. And if you want to survive in this crash, I've made a free video where I show you step by step how I'm getting rich in this crash, and how you can too. It's very easy. You can watch it in the link below. Part 2. What is portfolio drift, and why it's destroying your returns? Portfolio drift is what happens when you set up a diversified portfolio, walk away, and let the market decide how your money is allocated over time. Here's a simple example. Let's say you start 2024 with a portfolio split 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds. That was your plan. That was the risk level you decided was right for you. Then 2024 happens. The S&P 500 returns 23%. Bonds return almost nothing. So by the end of the year, that 70-30 split has quietly drifted to something like 80-20 or even 82-18 without you doing anything, without you making a single decision. On the surface, that sounds fine, you made money, your stocks went up. But what actually happened is your portfolio silently became riskier than you planned for. You're now more exposed to a downturn than you ever intended to be. And when the correction comes, and it will come, corrections happen on average every 1.2 years, that extra concentration in equities will hit you much harder than it should have. But here's the other side of this that almost nobody talks about. Portfolio drift doesn't just increase your risk, it actively slows your compounding. When one asset class runs way ahead of the others, you become dependent on that one thing to keep performing. Your entire compounding engine is now running on one cylinder. And when that cylinder misfires, even briefly, there's nothing else to absorb the shock. Rebalancing fixes this, and the data is extremely clear on why it matters. A 2024 study published in the Journal of Risk and Financial Management, which looked at a diversified ETF portfolio across US equities, treasury bonds, global commodities, REITs, and a hedge fund strategy over a 10-year period, found a significant positive correlation between systematic rebalancing and risk-adjusted returns. Portfolios that rebalance consistently had a meaningfully higher Sharpe ratio, meaning they produced better returns for the level of risk they carried, compared to portfolios that drifted without correction. And JP Morgan's long-term capital market assumptions research, updated through 2025, shows projected compound annual returns of 6.7% for US large cap equities and significantly higher returns for international developed markets and emerging markets. If you're not rebalancing regularly, you're likely over-concentrated in whichever asset ran hottest recently, and systematically missing the return potential sitting in the neglected parts of your portfolio. There's a term for this. It's called the rebalancing premium, and it's one of the few genuinely free improvements you can make to your long-term returns, because it doesn't require you to predict the market, find a better fund, or take on more risk. It just requires doing one specific thing, once a month. Part 3. The monthly habit that keeps compounding alive. So here's the practical part. What exactly should you be doing every month? There are 3 levels to this, and the third one is where everything changes. Level 1, the monthly check-in. Once a month, look at your actual portfolio allocation, not your target allocation. Your actual current allocation. Write it down. Compare it to what you originally intended. Most people never do this. They set up their portfolio, turn on automatic investing, and don't look at the actual percentages for months or years, by which point the drift has compounded on itself, and their portfolio looks nothing like what they designed. The check-in doesn't need to be complicated. You're looking for one thing. Has any asset class drifted more than 5% from its target? If your target is 70% equities, and you're now at 76%, that's your signal. Level 2, contribution-based rebalancing. This is the most tax-efficient way to rebalance, and almost nobody uses it. Instead of selling your overweight assets, which can trigger capital gains taxes, you redirect your monthly contributions toward the underweight assets. So if stocks have drifted too high and bonds have drifted too low, you don't sell stocks. You just direct your next few monthly contributions entirely into bonds until the balance restores itself. You're buying what's cheaper, you're selling nothing, and you're avoiding taxes while doing it. This is essentially dollar cost averaging with intelligence built in. You're not just investing a fixed amount, you're investing a fixed amount where your portfolio actually needs it most. Here's why this matters mathematically. Morningstar has tracked over the past decade that investors in US mutual funds and ETFs earned 7.0% annually, while the funds themselves returned 8.2%. That 1.2% annual gap sounds small, but compound that 1.2% difference over 30 years on a $200 monthly contribution starting at age 25, and you're looking at a difference of well over $100,000 in final wealth, lost purely to behavior, not market performance. Contribution-based rebalancing closes a significant part of that gap because it forces you to systematically buy low without requiring you to feel good about it. Level 3, the annual hard rebalance. Once a year, and I mean actually schedule this, put it in your calendar, you do a full rebalance back to your exact target allocation, regardless of how you feel about what the market is doing. This is where most people break down psychologically, because if stocks just had a great year, selling a portion of them feels wrong. Why would you move money out of something that's working? This is called recency bias. Your brain is wired to extrapolate recent performance into the future, and it's one of the most expensive cognitive habits you can have as an investor. Dalbar found that in 2024, their guess-right ratio, the frequency with which investors correctly timed their inflows and outflows, fell to just 25%. That means 3 out of 4 times that investors made an active decision about timing, they were wrong. The market moved in the opposite direction they expected. A scheduled, rules-based annual rebalance removes the timing decision entirely. You're not guessing. You're not reacting. You're executing a plan you made when you were calm, rational, and not influenced by recent headlines. Here's what this looks like in practice. Let's say at the start of 2025, your target is 65% US equities, 15% international equities, 10% bonds, and 10% REITs. By the end of the year, after markets move, your actual split has drifted to 74% US equities, 14% international, 7% bonds, and 5% REITs. Your annual rebalance means selling a portion of US equities and distributing those proceeds back to bonds and REITs, buying the things that are currently cheaper, funded by the thing that got more expensive. This is the structural version of buy low, sell high. Not based on prediction, based on discipline. And remember that if you want to survive in this crash, I've made a free video where I show you step by step how I'm getting rich in this crash, and how you can too. It's very easy, you can watch it in the link below. Part 4. The psychology that makes this impossible for most people. I want to spend time here because this is honestly where most people fail. Not because they don't understand the strategy, because they can't execute it when it matters. Here's what actually happens. You've set up your portfolio, you know your targets, you know you're supposed to rebalance. Then the market starts moving hard in one direction, either up or down, and your brain starts sending you signals. If stocks are crashing, the signal is stop investing, protect yourself, don't throw good money after bad. If stocks are roaring, the signal is don't interrupt what's working, stay in equities, don't move money into underperforming assets. Both of those signals feel completely rational in the moment, and both of them are exactly wrong. This is loss aversion in action, a concept developed by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, who found that the psychological pain of losing money is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. You feel a $1,000 loss about twice as intensely as you enjoy a $1,000 gain. This asymmetry of feeling drives almost all the bad decisions investors make. And here's what makes it worse in 2026 specifically. We now have financial news available 24 hours a day on our phones, in our notifications, in our social feeds. The frequency of exposure to market information has multiplied enormously compared to even 10 years ago. And every exposure is an opportunity for your emotions to override your plan. Research tracking investor behavior between 2020 and 2024 found that the average return gap caused by poor market timing nearly doubled compared to the pre-COVID period, from 0.53% per year before 2020 to over 1% per year afterward. The more information people had access to, the worse their timing decisions became. The solution is not to become emotionless. That's not possible. The solution is to build a system that executes regardless of how you feel. Write down your target allocation. Write down your rebalancing rules. What percentage drift triggers a correction? When you do your annual hard rebalance, how you handle contributions in a drifting portfolio. Put it somewhere you'll actually look at it. And when the market is doing something extreme and you're tempted to deviate, and you will be tempted, pull out that document and remember that you already made this decision. When you were calm, when you were thinking clearly. The people who came out of the 2020 COVID crash with massive gains weren't the ones who saw it coming. They were the ones who kept buying through a 34% decline in 5 weeks, and who rebalanced into equities when everything looked terrifying. By August 2020, just 5 months later, the market had fully recovered. People who kept their monthly habit intact and rebalanced during the dip made extraordinary returns over the following 2 years. Not because they were smart, because they had a system. Part 5. The data on what happens when you actually do this. Let me finish with numbers because I want you to leave with a completely clear picture. Let's look at 2 investors. Both start in January 2014 with $50,000 and contribute $500 a month for the next 10 years. Both invest in a diversified portfolio of US equities, international stocks, bonds and REITs. Investor A sets the portfolio up and never touches it again. No rebalancing. By 2024, the equity portion has ballooned to over 80% of the portfolio because of the extraordinary bull run between 2014 and 2024. When volatility hits, and it does multiple times in that decade, including 2018, 2020, and 2022, Investor A takes the full hit of that over-concentration every single time. Investor B does the monthly check-in, uses contribution-based rebalancing throughout, and does a hard annual rebalance every December. The portfolio stays close to its target allocation. It takes smaller hits during downturns because bonds and REITs provide a cushion. And every time equities drop, Investor B's contributions are automatically loading up on cheaper shares. The research from the 10-year ETF study I mentioned earlier shows that systematic rebalancing produces a meaningfully higher Sharpe ratio, better returns per unit of risk. And Vanguard's own analysis of threshold-based rebalancing, updated through 2025, confirms that disciplined rebalancing consistently produces better risk-adjusted outcomes over long periods, with the advantage becoming more pronounced over time. There's also this to consider. The 401k contribution limit in 2026 is $24,500, with an IRA limit of $7,500. That is a huge amount of tax-advantaged space, but the median retirement savings across all working-age Americans right now is just $87,000. The gap between what people are allowed to save and what they're actually saving is enormous. And a significant part of why that gap exists is that people are investing without a consistent monthly system, putting money in, leaving it untouched, watching it drift, never rebalancing, and ending up with a portfolio that doesn't even match the risk profile they thought they had. A 35-year-old who invests $500 a month from today maintains a disciplined rebalancing habit and earns a conservative 7% average annual return will have approximately $590,000 by age 65. A 35-year-old who invests the same amount but lets behavior gaps erode 1.2% of their annual returns, the Morningstar documented gap, ends up with around $490,000. That's a $100,000 difference. Lost not to market crashes, lost to one missing habit. This is what's at stake. Not whether you pick the right stock, not whether you time the market perfectly, just whether you have a monthly process that keeps your compounding running cleanly, keeps your allocation where you designed it to be, and removes the emotion from the equation before the emotion gets a chance to cost you. So let me bring this all together. Your compounding strategy will fail not because the math is wrong, not because index funds don't work, but because portfolio drift silently pulls your allocation away from where you put it. And most investors never correct it. The monthly habit is this: check your actual allocation against your target, redirect contributions toward whatever is underweight, and once a year, do a full hard rebalance regardless of what the market did. That's it. The data is not ambiguous on this. 15 consecutive years of average investors underperforming the index, an 848 basis point gap in 2024 alone, a $100,000 lifetime cost to the 1.2% annual behavior gap, a guess-right ratio of just 25% when investors try to time their moves. The people who build real wealth through investing aren't doing something exotic. They have a repeatable monthly process, and they follow it even when it feels wrong, especially when it feels wrong. Subscribe and remember that if you want to survive in this crash, I've made a free video where I show you step by step how I'm getting rich in this crash and how you can too. It's very easy, you can watch it in the link below. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depend on your own decisions and actions.